decision. It's a principle of a jury to have the jury deliberations internally be confidential. I come from a legal background. That's a paramount. This is a paramount principle. That one allows the jury to keep the discussions and deliberations in private.
Every other motion.
Sorry, guys. It's only Randip Surai, MP Randip Surai, who has the floor. Please, Mr. Surai.
So I'll say that again. I think the deliberations of a jury are always confidential, however type of jury that is. For us to go back and ask them what the jury has done, how they deliberated, what they looked at, what they didn't look at, what the opinions of those were. They may have candid comments. They may have had frustrations. But they were under the understanding when they're doing this that their deliberations, their decisions are confidential and should be kept that same way. So I think the whole point of doing this amendment or the actual motion itself is a rather moot point when it's been exhaustively studied. If you look at, I believe just on May 15th, June 2nd, 2020, the decision originally was to have this Afghanistan monument tucked away under a bridge. The previous government was not doing anything with it. It's something that was, for that reason, buried for much too long. We've been working on to have a veterans monument to commemorate those that have fought for this country, fought for others, and to have it commemorated in the correct way. After a jury's opinion, which even was not unanimous, in fact, the veteran on that had decided, was actually very relieved at the decision afterwards. It's come out. A very thorough and robust survey was conducted with over 10,000, majority of which were veterans families, and those associated with them. They took very strong opinions on it. They looked at both, and we wanted to honor those that are a monument that best reflects those veterans. I think that decision overwhelmingly, as the input came in, was very strong, very meaningful. And if you actually look at even now, any critique might come from those, obviously, the proponents that might not have been successful at this, but you don't hear the veteran community coming out. We had a veteran just here the other day. His frustration was why it's taking so long, but he did not his comment was not that the original or the one design over the other design. So veterans overwhelmingly have been very supportive of this. I think as a Veterans Affairs Committee, as members of it, as parliamentarians, I think we have a duty to ensure that our commemorations which is a big part of Veterans Affairs. In fact, I think it's one of the pillars of Veterans Affairs is commemoration. And when we use that budget and we use those funding, we commemorate the best way possible. And that best way possible is the way that veterans themselves who have served, those women and men, find it suitable. So I think this design, designed by an Indigenous designer who put a lot of passion into it, the Simpson group, thought of something. And as far as I've seen, as in my short stint as Parliamentary Secretary to Veterans, and as well as having a Veteran Center and a Legion and a very robust veterans community, it's been overwhelmingly positive, and they want us to move forward. I think as we keep doing this longer and longer, what's happening is we're frustrating the system, and I think people want to see shovels in the ground and a monument commemorating them in the best way possible to be erected. So I urge that we stop debating this, stop dealing with this over and over again just because of its, I would say perhaps partisan positions, and actually get to the actual point, which is to commemorate the veterans and get on with it. And we've had more than ample times. I've been on various committees, citizenship and immigration, foreign affairs, audit, And I've never had a minister come this many times, or multiple ministers, to speak so candidly about the process and all the comments. So I think we should continue in a way that commemorates them rather than bring this back, lose a lot of time amongst witnesses, lose a lot of time amongst those that are preciously here, giving their time and energy to help us study this matter. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Sarai. And now I'm going to go to Ms. Bliney. You have the floor.
Well, thank you. I was personally very excited to hear Mr. Richards say that he just wanted to get to the vote, and I'm unusually in a position where now I'm having to listen to other people. So I'm going to move that, and I hope it's a proper motion, that we vote on the amendment.
Yes, okay, I understand, but we still have people on the list, so I have to complete that. And I have Mrs. Hefner. Yeah, you next.
I just want to add that I'm new to this committee, but I think I've been frankly stunned at the extent that we've been debating this. And from the perspective really of the artists, it's where seems like the concern is coming from rather than the veterans. And if you look at the two pieces of art, I think if you talk directly to the veterans, you can see why they felt the one design. Sorry, Chair, the members across are yelling at me while I'm
Just
trying to
one
speak.
person
It's
has
a
the
little
floor.
distracting.
Please, Ms. Hefner.
Thank
Please.
you. As an outsider who, without the experience of the members across, you look at the renderings from the two artists and you can see why veterans tend to prefer one over the other. One is more abstract, it's very artistic, it's beautiful also. The other one actually shows soldiers. It's tangible. You can tell what it's commemorating. And I don't know why, and I don't know if the committee has already discussed this or not, but I don't know why we can't build two monuments. Afghanistan was a huge mission for Canada. Why not build both monuments on either side of the country? I don't know if that's something that this committee has discussed or contemplated, but I don't think it would cost that much, or it would be beyond the pale to go ahead and do both artist renderings. And the stories from both artists are great. They're both good ways to commemorate that mission in Afghanistan. But I don't know why we're more concerned about what the artists think than the veterans. And from what I understand, more than 12,000 Canadian veterans have responded to have their say about this monument, and our government's listening to them, unlike the previous government, where they made them angry because they didn't consult with them at all. And so I'm frankly kind of stunned that we're still talking about this. This is such a big issue. I think I want to hear from the witnesses. I want to hear more about transition to civilian life. And I don't understand why we're having these debates on and on. It makes sense to me that we choose the monument that the veterans feel most represents their time in Afghanistan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you. On the speakers list, I have Mr. Brian May.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If we can go back to when we were first discussing looking at this, and we agreed to have one meeting on this. That was what we were supposed to do, and then it turned into two. And then we wanted the minister, and I used a term back then, mission creep, and that's exactly what is happening. And I think, look, we recognize why we're doing this the way that we're doing it. We have offered to have committee business time. We've offered to even have a subcommittee to deal with this. We recognize that every other motion that I was the chair of this committee, we always would do committee business in the proper way. This has become a political stunt. It has become a political stunt by the opposition. It's a fishing exercise. No, there's no other way to describe this. And I'm sorry that once again the opposition has decided to do this when we have witnesses on important studies. I said this when this came up last at the beginning, that we were in the middle of a incredibly important study on women veterans, and that's what veterans want us to focus on. They're watching this and they're like shaking their head. They're shaking their head. They want us to be studying the important aspects of what their challenges are, what their barriers are, and so we agreed to bringing the minister in. We agreed to bring in Dayu and hear the story, and we've done all of this. Right? What are we doing? What is this? This just seems to be one more. Every time we expand this, it becomes something else. Every time that we agree, it's like, well, okay, now we want to do this. This is wasting the time of this committee. It is now wasting the time of veterans in this study. We had this. We are seeing such disrespect for veterans that we had to collectively do sensitivity training because of this.
Excuse me, Mr. May. We have another
You think
vote.
that's funny, guys? That you guys,
Excuse me.
because of your actions, you had to do sensitivity
Guys, excuse
training?
me.
Come on.
Excuse me, please listen. Sorry, guys, please, members of the committee. Now we have a vote. And because we have that vote, I have to ask members of the committee, do I have unanimous consent to continue? No. So we don't have unanimous consent. So Mr. Burry and let me see your name, Mr. Paul Burry here and Mr. Mark Menke, I'm so sorry. I have to suspend the meeting until the vote is over. So the meeting is suspended.